We're broadcasting in Zoom, Ange. So, hello. It's very nice seeing
Nice.
you today. I'm also
Nice to see you as
broadcasting.
well.
We're also broadcasting in Positive Workplaces page. So, I'll share the link to you guys I'll share it in the chat group para if people want to share it. There. How's everyone? We now have around 73 participants in Zoom. That's so fast. Hello, hello.
Hi guys, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi. She's like, don't forget to change your name. Ayan. Hello, Raul. We have in the room Mr. Raul Moldes. Hi. Rosvilla Habana, magandang hapon po. I think we're gonna be able to fill in the whole 100 slot and for today.
More
You're
than.
more than. So you're well loved. Oo.
We'll try to be. We'll try to be. Hello everyone.
Yeah.
Jensan, Davao, Baguio,
Oh,
Mandaluyong.
correct,
Thank you
correct.
for joining us today.
Right. So I'm going to put out a poll, Ange, no, very quickly, so that we will be able to get a demographics of what category does our learners belong in. Okay. So
Sure.
are you working under the category of sales and business development, marketing, human resources, learning and development, education, accounting, information technology, operations, top management, or others? This is for Ange and I to be able to understand what your backgrounds are para we can start customizing some of our examples also and some of our concepts in relation to those. Ayan. Grabe si Miss Maria Rosavilla Habana. Sir John Baluyot is one of my favorite speakers. Hi.
Nice,
Thank you
nice.
so much. That's really heartwarming. Today, though, I'm not going to be your main speaker. I'm just going to be a backup dancer for our special guest, Miss Ange Vera. Ange is a very
Hello
good friend.
everyone. Good
she was my
afternoon.
she was my classmate in LaSalle when we were finishing MBA together. Um, Siguro while we're starting or while we're waiting for the others, kasi we're actually scheduled at 3:30, no? Yan, so tamang-tama. Hold on. A couple of reminders for everyone in the room. So the first one is, since you know naman, Positive Workplaces is very participative in terms of webinars. For participation in learning activities, if you have another device ready with you, that will be great. O kaya if not naman, you can just prepare another browser so that you can go to another link. Like we are going to use Mentimeter later. Second reminder is I hope you can put your comments or insights in the chat box. Tapos yung questions nyo naman should be in the Q&A tab. And you can ask anytime, right? You can ask your questions in the Q&A tab anytime so that as a moderator, which would be me, I can start to collect your questions and ask it to Ange in the perfect moments, right? So the third one is, dahil tayo po ay nagka-crowd learning and alam nyo po sa lahat ng session na nandito ako, i-send nyo po ang chat nyo to all panelists and attendees. We're going to learn from one another, not just from the speakers, because the bigger learning is really now from the crowd. Okay? And eto na po ang iniintay ng karamihan, ang e-certificates. So ang e-certificates po natin ay automated. So ngayon po, hindi na po yan sent via email. After po ng Zoom call, important po ito ha, after ng Zoom call, pakiabangan po yung link ng post-evaluation mismo doon sa Zoom browser. Kasi lalabas po doon yung link, ang gagawin nyo na lang po ay i-click yung link na yon para po pagka-evaluate nyo po dito sa webinar na ito, kayo po ay magkakaroon automatically ng Certificate of Attendance. Another reminder, please write your full name kasi po automated siya. So pag ang linagay nyo lang po ay Michelle, so ang lalabas po sa certificate nyo is the training name and then Michelle. Di ba? Kahit sinong Michelle ka na, Michelle Obama, ganyan, o kung ano,
Oo.
bahala na kayo. Basta yun ang lalabas sa inyong certificate.
Specific.
Correct. So you be very specific with your full name in your post-evaluation. Okay? So without further ado, let's start to talk about muna why we're having this session in the first place. So meron tayong session na tinatawag ng Positive Extended Workplaces Design. Alam niyo po, after nung COVID-19 pandemic and after the quarantines, actually within the quarantines, we were all we were all shocked, no? Because ang dami natin hindi tayo marunong lahat sa digital, na ngayon lahat ng meetings natin tsaka session natin digital na kasi takot tayo mahawa. Tapos ang dami sa atin din, may mga nawala ng trabaho. So we are also looking for ways by which we can adjust and help one another during the crisis. Madami rin sa atin na hindi ganon kagaling pa sa pag-adapt sa technology, and that's all fine. That's all part of adjusting towards this new culture that's being pushed by the crisis, right? The only thing that will make us different from others is how do we use the learnings that we're getting in order for us to survive and adjust to whatever is happening in front of us. So right now, we have very important guests from Talent View, right? And that presentation from Ange later, which is the Positive Extended Workplaces Design, is part of a learning series that we are able to curate. So alam niyo naman po, si Positive Workplaces, mahilig po yan mag-curate. Mahilig kaming mag-design ng mga learnings. And the first free session would be Positive Extended Workplaces Design, which is today. And then after that would be Build a Stronger Remote Workforce with Empathy. That's also a free session on July 21. And then the last session is going to be Defining Meaning in Your Workplace. All of that is part of a series called The Essentials of a Positive Work from Home Setup, which is what Ange will initially start today. So Ange is a very good friend. Ange and I graduated from De La Salle MBA, and she is now currently the CEO of Talent View. Talent View is the leading employer branding firm in the ASEAN region with 3 countries of operation and more than 200 corporate clients. Ange is one of the most innovative and very brave leaders that I've met in school. And I'm very happy that after she went out of school, she didn't waste time. She just really went ahead, put up her own stuff, and lo and behold, she was able to find that great niche in terms of employer branding. Ange has 15 years in HR talent acquisition, organizational development, technology and human resources, performance management, and compensation and benefits. And also a graduate of Employer Branding College, Australia. She's also a level 1 employer brand leader with honor and distinction. Oy, Ange, pareho pala tayo nag-aral sa Australia. Ngayon ko lang nabasa to. She's also
Small world.
small world. She's also an author of Rethink Recruitment. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my very good friend and one of my idols in human resources, Miss Ange Vera.
Thank you so much, John. The pleasure is mine. You're also one of my idols. Thank you for inviting me and giving everyone this opportunity to learn about how do we now adjust to this extended workplace environment. So I'll be sharing a few slides, but more importantly, I would love to hear from you. As John mentioned, please share in the comments what you think. What I'd like to do today is share my experiences as well. And probably, during the course of this conversation, get your pulse also. We're going to ask pulse. This will be a very interactive session, and we'll try our very best to answer all the questions that you have. All right, so I'll share my screen right now.
Go ahead.
And John, please let me know if you're seeing my slide.
Oh, I can see it very clearly now, Ange. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm going to hide myself so that, they don't focus on me.
Okay, sure, no problem. So as John mentioned, our company is all about employer branding. So we're helping a lot of HR professionals try to understand this new normal, or what we'd like to evolve as the now normal. This is really what it is right now. And we're working with a lot of brands across the region. You might be familiar with some companies here, some family conglomerates, some small, medium, and large enterprises. And what we really try to do is try to understand the trends, the practices that are shaping today's workforce. And I want to start with this quote by Mark Cuban. So if you watch Shark Tank, you know that Mark Cuban is one of the panelists or judges there. He said how companies respond to this crisis is going to define their brand for decades. If you rushed in and somebody got sick, you were that company. If you didn't take care of your employees or stakeholders and put them first, you were that company. So whatever you're doing now, you can be branded as that kind of company even after this pandemic. So if you're an HR leader, if you're a leader in your organization or in your own team, it's very important you manage that perception, and you're really showing a lot of concern for your team members, for your employees, because that can be your brand for a very long time. All right. So there's 6 areas or pillars that I want to discuss today. The biggest question, John was saying, how to create a positive work from home setup. From a company perspective, there are 6 things you need to make sure of: enhanced leadership communication, resilient implementation, culture and collaboration mindset, reliable and secure connectivity. Of course, internet is the most important all the time, right? Optimize integration, and data-driven change. So we're going through this one by one. I'll explain this to everyone listening today. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll be happy to give some guidance. Okay, so I've provided a checklist here. When you talk of your leaders, where are they in this situation? Where are they in this crisis? John Maxwell said, right, in crisis, that's when the true leaders come out. So when you're looking at your company, are your leaders communicating well? What will be the business strategy going forward? Are your leaders giving assurance to their teams na, oh, eto na yung magiging adjustments natin in terms of work from home setup to ensure your safety? It's very important that leaders are at the forefront of this entire situation, even in organization. So you might think, well, I'm not a leader, I'm not an executive, I'm not vice president. I believe that you are. You're still a leader of yourself, and you're still a leader of your team. So whoever you can communicate to, whoever you can provide guidance to, you should be doing that, and helping one another in the midst of this pandemic. So that's the first thing. Leaders should help to define the reality. Ano ba yung nangyayari ngayon? The second is to deploy the crisis communication plan. What are you telling your employees at this time? Kasi 'di ba maraming fake news, and you don't want your team members to be the ones spreading news or updates that may not come from accurate sources. So it's very important that leaders become the official voice of this entire situation or pandemic, at least at this point, right? And the third is mobilize other leaders to disseminate critical information. For example, nabalitaan namin when the ECQ was implemented, there were people, employees who did not get the news right away. So even on the day of the lockdown, may mga pumapasok pa sa office kasi sila na-inform ng companies nila. So now's a very critical time because you've got news being updated, being changed, naging ECQ, MCQ, GCQ, and then there's talk of going back to a different setup again. So where are your leaders during this time? It's a very important question. And you're probably using some platforms. I want to share a story. One of the companies we work with is a Aboitiz. They allow their leaders to be showcased on Facebook Live. Ask the leader anything so that they're able to talk about the situation or talk about whatever concerns the team members have. So that's the very first thing. Let your leaders shine. Allow them to communicate more to your entire organization. So one last statistic before we go into our first poll, John, is that 91% of employees think that their leaders lack communication skills. So that's a very, I would say, alarming statistic, but something that should help us realize that people want to be communicated to. People want to hear updates. Even if the update is not good news, just an update is greatly appreciated. So I'll take a pause here and want to give some time for personal reflection and ask yourselves, look at your company, where do you think you are in enhanced leadership communication? So the poll should be launched soon. There you go. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, where do you think you are in this particular pillar of the EWD framework?
Correct. Siguro, Ange, while they're answering, no, I think this is a very rich opportunity to ask because leaders right now, they're also a bit distraught. Napansin mo? Like, it doesn't matter what age group you're in. The pandemic has started to move leaders into a point wherein they're confused as to what to do because there's so much pressure on their backs.
Correct.
In that sense, how do you think this framework will help those leaders who are struggling, just to make ends meet for their ends meet in their organizations?
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a very valid point. If you're a leader right now, you're juggling ten things up in the air.
Correct.
Keeping the business alive, keeping the
Correct.
customers happy,
Yeah.
keeping your teams engaged, right? And one thing I want to say, hope is not a strategy. You
Yeah.
cannot tell somebody, let's just hope things get better. Let's just hope that this pandemic goes away. So as leaders, people are looking at you and saying, they're copying you. They're trying to see how they can replicate your behavior. So for the leaders out there, think of this as a warning that if this is a pillar you're not able to resolve, then the foundation of your entire company can also be very shaky at this point.
Right. We now have the polls ready, Ange, at 76%.
All right,
So let me share the
let's
results
take
to
a look at that.
everyone.
All
Okay.
right. What do you think, John?
Ayan. So, well, this is such a Filipino thing, no? 43% is in 3. Dapat
Oh,
talaga hindi natin
middle ground.
nilalagyan yung middle ground eh. Pero
Uh,
if you look at the 4, so a lot of people here is at 33% thinking that they agree that their leaders are actually exercising enhanced leadership communication. So if you add that to the 5, the answers ng 5, around 40% in
right.
total yung 4 and 5. Tapos yung 1 and 2 is just probably 16%.
Correct. I'm very happy to see this data because this is the first pillar. If you get to solve this, the others can be slightly easier because really in everything there's a leader, whether formal or informal, diba? And this is something that reflects what the companies here are experiencing today, and that can only be a good thing at this point.
Yeah. Ange, I have a very interesting question here from Mr. Bienvenido Pasis. So he said that many of us are already in 50s or late 50s who are afraid of computers. Most need to be guided repetitively kasi it's not an automatic skill or
Mm-hmm.
competence. It's
Mm-hmm.
made more difficult doing it online or via mobile phone. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes these are the people who are leading the organization.
Correct.
Right? 'Di ba? Tama, yan yung mga nasa top management level o kaya high mid management level.
Mm-mm.
How do you think this framework will be able to help them? It doesn't have to be in the first tier, pero how do you think the framework will be able to help them?
Mm-hmm. That's actually very good timing. That's a good segue to the next pillar, which is
Mm.
resilient implementation. If I may answer that question, John,
Please go
as we
ahead.
jump into the next topic,
Yeah.
diba? So when you talk of resilient implementation, that's the thing. Not only is it a big change for everyone, but even the devices, as simple as using tools, being connected to the server. So I think when you're looking at this framework, when you're trying to manage your team or your company, you have to make sure that the change you're implementing can withstand generations. That's number one. Because my argument there is Facebook. Diba? Even whatever age you are, anyone uses Facebook, we are the Facebook capital of the world. So I've seen companies as simple as moving their communication from email to Facebook Messenger or to Viber, and it works. So, of course, there's no one right tool. Whatever works for you, you have to use it. So, as a leader, if you're more comfortable, for example, maybe online is a challenge, but Facebook, I'm sure, is something that you work with a lot on your personal time. So that's something that you can use to bring the conversation there. And when we talk of resilient implementation, we're also looking at three things on our checklist. The first one is take an audit of all your technology platforms. So ito nga yung sinasabi natin earlier, some of it may still work. If you have Zoom, that's still going to work. If you have maybe Viber, in some cases it will work, or Facebook, it will work. But others, for example, there are companies, kailangan nakakonect ka dun sa server ng office for you to get work done. That's something you have to rethink. That will not happen, especially because the entire workforce cannot come to the office together unless you have special setups that you've deployed. But for now, not everyone is physically in the office. So there must be a way for them to get data and still stay connected to the company. The second, very quickly, assess your capability to continue business operations using the platforms, knowing it will run on personal devices. So this one, we've seen it a lot. Employees are used to the desktop. But obviously, because of work from home, siguro hindi nila dinala yung desktop nila. They now have to use either their phone or they have to use their own laptop. Will your business continue on those personal devices? You have to have a resounding yes. The answer must be sure. Because again, it's a pillar. If you're not able to solve this, then you're not able to serve your customers well, and eventually your business will be affected or impacted. So that's the second piece. And the last part of the checklist is reinforce policies that comply with your data management standards and encourage proper use of tools and technologies to serve customers. So policies, dati siguro bawal mag-share ng information 100% on Viber. But now maybe you don't have a choice. It might be good to tell your team what kind of information can only be shared on these platforms. So for every platform you're using, for example, Zoom, what will we do with Zoom? Where will it be used? What will we do with Viber? Where will it be used? So that everyone is in agreement. What platform, what technology is used for what? And as a leader, if you're the leader, whatever generation you're coming from, you're also going to put a little more organization in everything. Kasi alam mo na pag Zoom is meant for town hall, it is meant for video conferencing. But if you're talking about a project, you should be working on a different platform. So it gives you more organization as you come into this setup or this situation. And journey of transformation, just to give you a bit of an idea, right? The very first that you need to settle is communication. You definitely want to make sure meron kayong place for your entire company to communicate with one another. But communication is different from collaboration. So when we talk of collaboration, you are getting work done, you are innovating, you are delivering your promise to your clients. So where do you collaborate is another question. And if possible, if you can move on to the third phase, which is automation. So being able to use technology to take out a little more manual work during this time, then that's something that can be very helpful to you. And if you look at the statistics also, companies and organizations that communicate effectively are 4.5 times more likely to retain the best employees. So this one is, I think, also a given. If you communicate more and people feel more connected to your company, then they'll stay. You will not have a hard time convincing them of staying. Right? So I'll leave this stat here as we launch another poll, and if John has any questions for us.
All right. So let me go to that next poll, Angie, on resilient implementation. So same step, guys. On a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest, how would you rate your company's performance on the pillar of resilient implementation? Ito, Ange, this is quite a tricky pillar, no? Kasi this is now already speaking to the organization's capability to adjust towards digital.
Correct.
And you know, there's so much resistance to that digital culture because there's so many threats. Like for example, there's the threat of data privacy. There's that threat of you being infected, for example, by a lot of viruses or hackers and stuff like that. Ano sa tingin, what do you think are things that leaders can start considering so that they would not be as afraid to jump into that digital digitizing or digital transformation kasi there's really nowhere else to go, right? That's really
Correct.
that's really it. So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
if there's anything positive that's coming out of this situation, what we're learning from companies is it's become forced digital disruption.
correct.
In a way, napilitan na sila kasi there's no choice but to adjust to the times. And you know what I tell a lot of leaders that we work with in our customer base, right? We already are in an age where people naturally use tools like Viber, like
Mm,
Messenger, like WhatsApp. These are actually consumer apps. Napansin nyo, there are ads. There are
mm,
ads when you type something on Messenger, and you're trying to ask somebody their opinion on, say, a mobile phone. All of a sudden, meron ka ng ads selling mobile phones coming from maybe Shopee or
yeah,
Lazada. So in fact, the consumer tools, they're already using it now. So that in fact begs the question, how can you make things more secure? Because you can't stop the disruption. You may tell yourselves na, no, we have official channels. But I'm 100% sure that somewhere, somehow, your people are still using the consumer applications of today because that's what they're familiar with. So part of resilient implementation also is recommending tools or platforms that people are already familiar with, because then the learning curve is less, people will use it more, and you'll
right.
have an easier time overall, so to speak.
Right. Thanks for that, Ange. So this is now the result of the poll. That's almost one out
Nice.
of three people think that their company is not yet in that pillar of resilient implementation. One out of three is still a
Mm-mm.
bit big statistic,
Mm-mm.
as far as
Mm-mm.
readiness is concerned. What do you think of that, Ange?
Right. Again, it's forced digital disruption. All of us are not ready. So this data is very consistent with what we're finding as well with other companies. But I hope that it's something you think about, because this will be a very long-term play. It's not gonna change anytime soon. I think you know, all of you listening in this webinar know that this kind of setup, it's here to stay. In fact, we're seeing workers buying bigger screens, fixing
Mm,
their work area, buying a desk, buying a ring light for their conference calls,
yeah.
which is an indication to me that alam nila na tagal yung setup na ganito, and that they need to establish a better a set of habits for working. So I know you know that, and that's something that you have to put at the back of your minds as an immediate action
Right.
for
Okay.
resilient implementation.
Thank you,
Pa ba yun?
Ange. Yeah, yeah. No, I
The
think
ring lights, the bigger
I
screen.
that makes total sense because I think one of the reasons why there are a lot of companies who are having a hard time moving into that new normal adjustment or the better normal adjustment is that they think that this is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of futurist thinkers are saying that yung state natin ngayon, this is not temporary. This is going to be here for a very long time, mainly
Mm-hmm.
because the pandemic scared the little living blank out of us. Totoo yun, di
Yes.
ba? Kasi totoo, I mean, sa sobrang takot ng mga tao ngayon, it's gonna be very hard to dissuade them that
Mm-mm.
this is something that will not affect what's going to happen in the future. In fact, yung mga organizations ngayon, napansin mo, Ange, ito siguro with some of your clients, no? Ang dami ng organization na ang long-term plan ay magkaroon ng half of their population working from home. Can you
Correct.
imagine that? Half of the workers' population working from home. Kasi ang dami ngayon, kaya naman pala. Di
Mm-mm.
ba?
That's another good thing, no? While a lot of us are struggling, there are also organizations that struggled and then move to the next level.
Correct.
Kaya pala. Exactly
Correct.
your words, di ba? Kaya
Yeah.
pala. So now that's been proven. And again, it's that delicate balance of the companies where they have to say, okay, what parts of work will remain the same? What parts of work will remain evolved for
Right.
many more months to come?
Correct. So I think people really just have to accept this reality now, Ange, no?
It's
That
the now
everything is gonna
normal.
go digital from here, that there is no turning back. And if you're still thinking that things will go back to the old ways or that old normal, then you'll just be left out.
Correct,
Diba?
correct. And
Okay.
maybe another thing I want to point out is this one. Zoom. We're all on
Mm,
Zoom. We're learning. And
Yeah.
from people that I'm close with, I'm hearing that they're learning more because they're able to attend so many Zoom sessions.
That is so
So
true. Yeah.
so in the area where there's a gap,
Yeah.
there's also areas of opportunities. So
Exactly.
so that's something to look at.
Yeah. Thanks, Ange. Sige, please go ahead. I know I'm very madaldal in a sense, but your discussion is so rich and you're hitting the right buttons, really.
I love it. Thank you everyone for your questions and comments. Sige, we'll move to the next one.
Yeah.
If you're in HR, this will be very interesting to you because this is another critical pillar, and it is culture and collaboration mindset. So when we talk of the extended workplace, right? So this entire framework I'm sharing to you, it's called the extended workplace design. Why do I say extended workplace? When we created this framework, one thing that I realized was we are extending our office to the home of each and every employee. Our office is now where they are, whether that's in a coffee shop, if they can go out, or most likely in their own houses or homes. So, very important itong culture and collaboration mindset. How are you now able to build culture? In a normal office setup, this is easier, right? When you celebrate a birthday, usually you'll call on Ambers, you'll prepare a cake, you'll get everyone together in one room and celebrate a person's birthday. If you celebrate a milestone, maybe your leaders will announce an achievement that you've unlocked, and then everyone can clap and celebrate together. How do you do that now that everyone is dispersed and everyone is in their own homes or extended workplaces? So that's a big challenge for HR. And one thing I want you to note is that it is possible. The first thing you need to do, let's look at our checklist, is point your team to the right sources of information. When you're trying to build culture, information needs to be reliable, accurate, and dependable. So yun muna, settle the information piece first. So even as simple as who are the sources to listen to for any COVID-19 updates? Do you listen to CNN? Do you listen to the World Health Organization? Give them the right sources of information. Because the last thing you want is that all your people, whether you're 10 or 10,000, have different sources of information and different levels of accuracy when it comes to the information that they know. So that's the first thing. Second, rethink how your current tools can be improved to fill the gap of communication. So as simple as the new tools need to be put in place. So kunyari, dati email lang kayo, 100% email. Will email still be the most effective way? I hear a lot of companies, when they send out an email to 20 people, they will get back 15 responses, okay, noted, right? And that really just bombards your email. Before you know it, you have thousands of emails unopened, and all of them say, okay, noted. So that's the time that you probably have to look at other tools, whether that's chat applications, video conferencing tools, other corporate tools, whatever that may be. Look at it and see how that can be made possible, that you're efficient. For example, also filing of leaves. Dati ang filing of leaves, you have to fill out 3 copies of your leave, get the manager to sign it, get your HR to sign it, and then keep 1 copy for yourself. So how does that work now? What tools can you use to make your leave system and your leave policy adjust to the times today? And the third piece in our checklist is engage employees the way you would do in an office. Even in our own company, we have a TikTok challenge. So we follow the times. If the TikTok challenge is something that people really enjoy, then we bring it into the office setup. We have a bingo challenge. We still celebrate birthdays. We still celebrate milestones. So all of that, keep your employees engaged, make them feel that they belong in the organization. So here's an example. I'm showing you a platform now that we use and that we partner with. It's called Workplace by Facebook. So imagine it's Facebook, but it's more secure. There are no ads. And the people inside the network are just all team members and employees of your company. So no mixture with personal networks. It's 100% just everyone at the office. And if you look here, we have the CEO holding a town hall. So even if your office has locations in Davao, Visayas, or Metro Manila, you can run a town hall and everyone can watch it live. So this is a solution or a product that's also built by Facebook, but they built it for the workplace and they've built it for companies. So if you notice, you can also run polls, you can upload files, everything is just more secure. So that's the way in which we're helping our company strengthen our culture and collaboration mindset. And if you look at the data, Forbes says good company culture increases revenue by 4 times. So if HR is asking, how can I contribute to the business now? How can my contribution matter? This is the answer. If you build a company culture that is strong, that is cohesive, where people feel connection, they will want to do more for your company. They're going to show more concern. They're going to show more effort to make sure that your company withstands our current situation. So now we'll take a pause. We'll run that poll again and see where are you in the culture and collaboration mindset piece. So again,
Yan.
scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest.
Yan. I've already put up the poll, pero one of the things that I want to ask, can you see the poll na ba?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I'd like to ask is, in cultures, diba? Cultures by themselves are always embedded in the identity of the organization.
Mhm.
Kunyari, you're a government agency, diba? Usually the culture is built on public service.
Mhm.
How do you think companies right now can start to strengthen their culture knowing that a lot of their leaders are confused? 'Di ba?
Right.
Parang ang hirap, may identity crisis ka kasi generally your organization exists to solve a problem.
Mm-mm.
Kunyari, hospitals, 'di ba, healthcare is supposed to be able to cure people, make sure that
Mm-mm.
diseases are prevented, etc. Pero right now, because of the pandemic, everyone was disrupted. So
Mm-mm.
how do you think the companies can organizations can start getting back on their feet culture wise para ma-develop nila yung sinasabi natin na good company culture that can start to increase productivity, revenue, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. The basic level is information. Don't you get frustrated when you feel like you're not being given the right information or kulang yung information that your company provides? I would say that's the most basic level. Not it does not necessarily take your culture to the highest point, but
Mm.
I would say that that's the base. That's the first thing you can do. But it's a struggle, you're right, John, kapag yung leaders yung confused. Kasi it's like trying to fix a chair, inaayos mo yung isang leg, pero
Mm.
sira pa rin yung isang leg, so it's not going to stand. My recommendation from an HR perspective is not to try and do it alone, not to try and do this alone. Whether you like your leaders or not, it is a pillar and it's a given that you need them in the organization.
Right.
So if they're the current leaders, you'll have to sit down with them, you'll have to work with them and say, okay, what is it that you think you're confused about? What do people need to know? Or how can we help you as a leader? How can we help you ease that confusion? And then let's do the same for the team. Diba? Hopefully, if the leader's not confused, mas mabibigyan din niya ng clarity yung team members niya. So start with the
Correct.
leader. Everything rises and falls on leadership anyway, according to John Maxwell. So we definitely want to involve our leaders in this culture conversation.
Right. Thank you very much, Ange. Oh, here's the result for the culture
Three
po. Yeah.
again.
Parating bell curve yan. Next time
Mm-mm.
talaga tatanggal natin yung gitna. Pero at least nakita na natin na tingnan mo 20, this one naman is a bit split na. 25% is really nasa low end tapos 30% nandun sa high end as far as
Mm-mm.
culture is concerned.
Mm-mm.
So yan.
Right. So this is pretty normal. I'm glad that half the people that are listening to us are pretty confident that they have their culture and collaboration pieces intact. So at least that's one less thing to worry about.
Right. Ayan.
Okay?
I think,
May
Ange, we were
question ba?
able to answer din a question. Si Carlos Ross kasi just that was the question that I asked you a while ago. He asked, how to build a culture in a time of drastic change where
Mm-hmm.
resistant and divergent where resistance and divergence may be present. And I think that was
Mm-hmm.
the way you answered it kanina na. You start with
Mm-hmm.
information tapos you start to involve your leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So we'll move
Yep.
on to the next one.
Yeah.
The next one is this one is going to be very quick. Reliable and secure connectivity. So because we're now relying on the internet, we're now relying on everything online. We have to make sure that our people are equipped with a secure connection, a reliable connection to at least function, do their work, get engaged, and participate in company activities. So this one is more a show of concern at this point, right? First item on the checklist is just check on each team member's level of access and reiterate to them that this is important because some team members, they're gonna stop at, mahina talaga yung connection dito, wala na akong magagawa. That's gonna be very difficult because if you're trying to rebuild culture, as you said, John, and to the questions and comments that were shown in our poll, if you're trying to shape a culture in your organization, and then people have a very limited time engaging with your company, that's going to be very hard. You're trying to build something that doesn't have a solid foundation also. So check on your teammates, make sure that they have the minimum connection at least that's needed to chat with you, talk to their clients, and work on their tasks. The second is conduct a QA, quality assurance, of the flow of information from top down to bottom up. So what I mean by this is gaano kabilis nagta-travel yung information. So for example, the manager has a new strategy or our leadership team has a new strategy. When that's passed on, they pass it to the manager. Then the manager passes it on to the supervisors. Supervisors passes it on to their team. How long does that information travel? And then ganun then on the reverse. If your team finds out something, you pass it on to the supervisor passes it on to the manager, so on and so forth. How fast and how accurate is the information? You have to check that because it means that if information is getting muddled, it means there's something wrong. It's an indication for you to put a few adjustments and to take some action to try and get that information moving better, faster, and more accurately. And then the third is focus on home networking tools that support participation to internal meetings and events. So katulad nito, Zoom. I think it's fairly easy. We have nearly 200 people on this Zoom call alone, which is for me telling of how easy it is to just join, to just jump onto the call, to learn, and to participate. So don't try to complicate your lives. It's already complicated as it is, diba? So what we definitely want to do is simplify and just make sure that everyone has the minimum required connection for them to function within the organization. So if you look at the statistic from HRD Asia, 70% of companies right now report that the main cost-cutting measure they plan to use is more effective use of technology. So this one is also a given, and I can assure you that your company is not the only company doing cost-cutting measures. All companies now, whether big or small, profitable or not profitable, are finding ways to cut their costs. And technology will play a very big factor in that. So all the more people should stay connected because of it. So we'll launch that poll in for reliable and secure connectivity. And as you're answering this, just want to put in a note that whatever data you're sharing, we're not looking at this individually. We're just looking at this as a whole. So feel free to share and don't have any fear that you will be singled out because of the data that you shared.
Correct.
All right.
And Ange, I love what you said a while ago that it's important for us to check the connectivity of people like in our organizations, even in a remote setup, no? Kasi
Mm-hmm.
alam mo, sa sobrang dami ng webinars namin na conduct, both sa PSTD at sa Positive Workplaces, we were able to realize that there are some home remedies to low internet connectivity.
That
'Di ba?
is absolutely true.
And
There
some of
are
these,
platforms
yeah,
that can run on low connection.
correct. Like for example, we realized that even if you have low connectivity, in Zoom, you can start to minimize some use of your bandwidth by closing all of the windows that you have that you're not using that may be eating
Wow.
up the bandwidth, right?
Mm-mm,
So
mm-mm.
that's one. The other one is you can just close probably your video because video also eats up bandwidth. O kaya
Correct.
you start
Correct.
to not participate on screen sharing. O kaya you
Mm-mm.
make sure itong pinaka-importanting learning namin na nakita sa dami ng webinars. Yung muting, yung
Mm-mm.
muting pala, yung
Mm-mm.
muting plays a big role in connectivity kasi pag
Mm-mm.
sa Zoom, hindi ka naka-mute tapos
Mm-mm.
kina-capture yung sound mo ng
Okay.
ng Zoom. Nakikita ang makikita is kung sino man yung may ambient sound na malakas. Kunyari may tumatahol na aso
Ah,
sa likod,
oo.
right?
For sure.
Kina
Siya yung priority.
Siya yung napaprioritize sa screen. So hindi to
Oo.
alam ng marami pero yung mga little things like that add up to bandwidth being eaten, and that's the
Correct.
reason why the connectivity also is not as fast,
Correct.
right? Of course,
Absolutely.
of course, this is not this is not true for everyone kasi yung mga
Mm-mm.
meron talaga tayong mga low internet connection areas.
Mm-mm.
Pero for
Mm-mm.
those people who are still in decent internet connection, I hope they know that they can just Google all of these things. Tapos
Mm-mm.
makikita nila that they can share it with their other teammates, that
Mm-mm.
it can help out when it comes to communication online.
Correct.
Ito na, Ange,
Those
this
are
is our
good tips,
results.
John, ah.
Yeah,
Wow. This is so good. Ito, hindi na bell curve,
di na
which
bell
I'm so
curve.
happy to hear. Most every one of you are already securing that connection and
Mm,
finding those little ways to limit yung bandwidth usage or utilization. This is good. This is really
yeah.
good to hear.
Correct. But this is still 33%, no? 33%
Mm-mm.
of people here in the room still
One
think
third.
that in terms of reliability and secure connectivity, medyo mababa pa rin. And we can't blame
Oo.
them kasi not all provinces in the Philippines has really great internet connectivity. And
Correct.
this is where government and some private organizations can play a big role. So,
Mm-mm.
Ange, siguro this is one question that I'd like to throw to you. Ano yung adjustments that some organizations right now are doing when,
Mm-hmm.
especially for those situations or staff or parts of the organization that are not really high in terms of internet connectivity?
Mm-hmm.
Ano
Well,
yung, do you have any practices that some of your clients are doing para to really cater to those people who are in the far-flung areas, really don't have
mm-mm.
internet access?
Well, this will sound um like as I said earlier, like workplaces are one of our partners, but I think it comes down also to choosing tools that
Right.
are easy for the people to access. And
Mm.
and workplace is one of those. That's why I really, really love to promote it and talk about it. I know you, John, also use workplace in positive
Yeah.
workplaces.
Kasi it's
So
free. It's free below 50
exactly.
people.
Yeah. If you're below 50, it's free. But even if you're above 50, the costs are very minimal. That's
Yeah.
something that everyone should take a look at. But in general, if you're having trouble with connection, don't choose tools na malakas kumain sa bandwidth. So Zoom is great for that, di ba? A lot of people question the security, even despite the improvements. But a lot of people also still use Zoom because it's really easy and it's not heavy on the bandwidth requirements. So I think that's all you can do unless you will force people to come to the workplace and do their work there. In fact, even in the office, mabagal ang internet, diba? That's something that you still hear from people as they come back to the offices. So again, it's also looking at the tools that you need for you to run and work productively.
Right. Ange, is it okay if I read some of the comments in the
Or
chat box? Kasi ang rich ng mga comments ng mga tao. So sabi
go
nila,
ahead.
sabi ni Jennifer, how do you choose the right platform then for the activities? Kasi that's very essential to what you mentioned a while ago about
Mm-mm.
pag nakapili ka ng tamang tool, mas makakatulong sa'yo yon, especially if it's not heavy on bandwidth usage.
Mm-mm.
Mga ganyan. The other chat messages are, sabi ni Carlos, usually infrastructure and not just internet is taken for granted in organizations in the Philippines. This
Correct.
is very true,
Mm-mm.
no?
Mm-mm.
This is very
Mm-mm.
true. It's not just an internet issue. It's also an equipment issue, it's an
Right.
infrastructure issue.
How everything is set up essentially, and I have to agree with that.
Yeah,
It requires a certain level of complexity or sophistication to design your infrastructure. Makikita natin yan sa mga BPOs, multinationals. The infrastructure is very complex.
right.
And yeah,
Tapos,
there's pros and cons to that also.
yeah, and there's also, sabi ni Raul, Globe Smart and other providers are offering telephone services plus internet. Internet is only a plus, not the main
Correct.
services of those firms. So then
Mm-mm.
we can still use some of the teleservices that may be essential if internet is really not working for you. Ang galing,
Right.
no? And this is going
Oh,
back to analog. This is going back to analog because it's necessary.
correct, correct. You have to do what's necessary. So just to answer that
Exactly.
first question, right? How do you know that it's the right platform for you, or how do you choose?
If it works.
Two words, two
Oh,
words.
correct.
It
If it
works.
works.
Yun lang. If gumagana siya for your company, hindi kayo nawawala ng customers, hindi kayo nawawala ng employees because they're happy with the setup, then you know it works. If you have all these complaints, you have all these delays, then you know that something's wrong, and then you can make your adjustments.
Tama. And you know, Ange, I know some friends from the education sector. Ang galing nila, no? Ang daming mga bata na hindi
Mga
nakaka-capture
bata.
ng, sorry, mga estudyante na
Okay.
hindi nakaka-capture ng learning online kasi either they cannot afford the internet or hindi
Mm-mm.
talaga dumarating sa kanila yung internet access. Alam mo ang ginawa
Oo.
nila? They partnered with one NGO partnered with a radio station. Tapos
Okay.
it was the radio station that became the carrier of education for some kids. Nagkaroon sila ng certain segment for the day that's
Nice.
exclusive for kids who
For
are not able to
kids.
access
Mm-mm.
education. Tapos that segment now became popular for people in the province kasi nag-tune in ngayon yung mga tao pabalik sa radio because of education.
Oo,
It
and
works.
that's good to hear that
Right.
we're finding workarounds. They're not the best workarounds, pero
Right.
yun nga, if it works, then dun tayo, 'di ba?
Correct.
And although it's sad because also the teachers don't have the right bandwidth.
Right.
So kahit sila, they have a lot of learning that they can pass on, di nila yun magagawa in some parts of the country because of limited connection, limited infrastructure.
And
So
Ange,
so find a way.
that's
I think for now.
I really like your point, no, that whatever works, make it that's what you will zoom in on.
Mm-mm.
Pero
Mm-mm.
you know, you will only know what works if you try. Kasi a lot of us are still in the phase of analysis paralysis. Yung
Correct.
ano ba, okay ba to, hindi ba to okay, susubukan ba natin, hindi natin susubukan.
Mm-mm.
Paano nyo malalaman kung okay nga sa atin if we're not trying it out? That's why a lot of the most limber organizations right now are actually working very well because sobrang bilis ng decision making sa kanila. And that has
Correct.
worked very well with Talent View as well, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with you as well in positive workplaces, I'm sure. So here's a message to everyone at this point. I hope yung attitude natin is not an attitude of ganyan talaga, wala na tayong magagawa.
Correct.
Put in your mind that you should be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Correct.
So if you're not contributing to make things better, then you're part of the problem, and that should be a wake-up call for you to try and do something. So maganda yung keyword mo dyan, di ba? Try. Just try. Because you'll never know if it will work or not if you don't try.
All right. Okay. I think we're
Good.
up to your last pillar, Ange.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we'll move ahead and we'll power through. So optimize integration. This is second to the last. So this one very quickly simply means how are you serving the customer, both internal, so diba, employees are also customers. We're also serving them. How are you serving your internal customers? How are you serving external customers? So when you look at the checklist, number one, revisit your business objectives and make sure lahat ng ginagawa natin, all processes, are still positioned to support these goals. So a business exists for certain reasons, for certain objectives. Nade-deliver pa ba yung objectives na yon in this crisis or in this situation? The answer should be yes to that. And again, if the answer is not yes, let's go back to the drawing board and try to adjust a few things. The second is spot broken workflows or overlapping ones and bridge these with new processes or technologies if and when possible. So one of my examples here is insurance. I know that a lot of insurance professionals, medyo na-throw off sila by this entire situation because their job is to meet people every day, to sell an insurance policy and to make someone sign physically. 'Di ba? Maraming papers that you need to sign once you buy insurance. So how is that working today? Again, when you talk of optimized integration, the best of companies are already addressing this through digital. You can send papers in via e-signature. Hindi mo na kailangan yung mga papel. You eliminate processes that are overlapping with each other. So you try to make it as easy for all your customers, whether they're the employees or whether they're the end customers, because that's how you continue on with business. And then the third and final piece in the checklist is implement new ways of working across the organization. So whether you buy new tools or you're using existing tools, like yung email, it's always been around. But what we've found for some companies is that they only use email for communication, very quick, short communication. Pero pag documents na yung pinag-uusapan, when you're working on files, you now use Google and you now adjust and work on the files on Google. So you can make ways around your processes so that, in a sense, optimize yung entire process natin. And if I may give an example, this is one of our partners, Taligent. They have a tool called video interviewing, which you can use on your mobile phone, which you can do on your desktop. So even interviews, for those here that are in HR, even as simple as interviews, you cannot do that face-to-face right now because of physical distancing. So we've seen companies where they just send a link, and using the mobile phone, the candidate will video themselves. Para siyang American Idol audition or The Voice audition. You just video yourself and you send that video. And then what happens is that HR can write their notes, write their comments, pass that on to the hiring manager, and everything is now done digitally. So I've heard of companies also that are doing their onboarding in a digital way. Pati yung pag-fill up ng medical, SSS, all the government requirements are being done from a digital standpoint just to onboard the employee. So that's really interesting to see for us because it means that it is forced digital disruption for a lot of companies. And if you look at the statistic by Salesforce, 86% of employees and executives cite that lack of collaboration or ineffective communication is the source of workplace failures. So we don't want to be part of this statistic. So this is something that we also need to consider when we're trying to fix our processes internally. So John, let's launch our survey. And again, ask everyone who's watching the webinar to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5 and assess their company.
I also want to address Ange. So we have some learners who are watching in Facebook. So yung polls natin hindi nila nakikita sa Facebook, no? So we're just going to read it to you. The poll is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest. How would you rate your company's performance on the pillar of optimized integration? You can just put it as a comment in Facebook. Tapos, we're just going to read it and reply to it afterwards or a little bit later. Pero right now, what we're doing is we're verbalizing the responses so that not only are the people in Zoom benefiting from the learnings, also the people who are watching from Facebook. Kasi I think we have around 50, 40 people in Facebook who are staying tuned to us live in Facebook din.
Nice.
Right.
Sure.
So, Ange, we have around 70% na in our polls answering.
Nice.
The I'll put up the poll results. Yan. Oh, see, this is also not another bell curve. So this is a bit of a bell curve, but not as much as kanina. So
interesting to see.
50% feels that optimized integration is a bit high in their organizations. This is very hopeful.
So that's good. And I think the insight here is that at the end of the day, if we can serve our customer, our business will continue. So this one is very telling that the first thing that companies solve is really how to make business continue, because that's what feeds everyone. That's what continues the the entire business or supports the employees. So it's really important, and it's nice to see that a lot of companies are picking this up very quickly.
Right. There's a question from Jennifer here, Ange, saying that while it's nice to be able to optimize some of the processes, especially using tech, how do we then ensure the safety and security of the use of Facebook and other platforms?
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting question, and I'll be upfront with you that the answer is you really can't, because
Mhm.
these tools like Facebook or Viber, they are what we call consumer apps.
Right.
They're really designed to have uh, I wouldn't say bad security, but a more open environment that allows for ads, that allows for group creation, or people meeting each other, finding each other, diba? So
Right.
so again, the consideration there is to try and look at some corporate tools that mirror some of the more familiar tools that people are using. If technology is the way to answer it, you
Right.
really have to look at the corporate applications or corporate tools.
Well, another way to look at it, Ange, is really survival, no? Kasi
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the priorities change when you are
Mm-mm.
looking at a situation wherein mas kailangan mong gamitin yung tool kahit na mababa yung security kasi kailangan yung mag-survive initially during this stage of the pandemic. Kumbaga,
Correct.
kumbaga napupunta sa likod yung priority na, oh my God, is this safe?
Mm-hmm.
Kasi kailangan mong gamitin kasi pag hindi mo ginamit, babagal yung communication nyo. At pag
Correct.
hindi bumagal yung communication nyo, baka on the first level of survival pa lang, talo na kaagad.
Exactly.
Di
So,
ba?
ano din siya battle of survival, as you said, John.
Right.
Maybe for now, that's what you use.
Yeah,
But in your mind, you know that once you get into a more stable position as a business, then
exactly.
you now start to think of security. Now you start to think of all these other things that are also important.
Right.
But yun
That's
nga,
true, no?
survival.
Mm.
Survival eh.
Doon muna tayo
And
sa sa most basic need, which is what works for us to survive. Tapos,
correct.
yung mga other things that will eventually we have to be more mindful about, we start to put together siguro in anticipation, no, some guidelines and policies so that pag kailangan na ulit natin na maprotektahan yung sarili natin kasi nagso-survive na tayo, then let's start to protect ourselves, 'di ba? With some of these.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Correct?
that's that for our optimized integration. And the last one, last pillar for everyone is data-driven change. So it's
Ayan.
been 3 months, it's been 4 months. By now, we know a few things that are working, and we know a few things that are not working. So remember, I told everyone earlier to sit down and talk to their leaders. That's in fact the number one piece in our checklist for this pillar. Speak with your leaders on the effectiveness of the business continuity plan. So yung mga ginawa ba natin at the start, are we seeing the effect now? And what's the effect? Is it positive or negative? If it's positive, let's carry on, let's continue. If it's a bit negative or there's something we need to change, then we should be starting to change that 3 months or 4 months into this situation. Assess the speed at which communication reaches your entire organization. And again, make the necessary adjustments to realign everyone. So this last pillar, this is more of after everything already. Are you getting back data that allows you to make sense of what's happening and what adjustments you need to make? So a lot of platforms, even Zoom, even Workplace, even Facebook, there's some form of analytics. There's some form of trying to understand ano yung trending, ano yung mga topics that people comment on the most, what kind of emojis are they picking? Are they happy? Are they sad? Do they like it? Have they hearted it? So it would be good for you to take a look at these analytics and then make your adjustments based on data. I'll just put a caution here. Don't adjust just because you see your competitors adjusting or you see that everyone else is using a certain thing, doing a certain thing. So for example, as basic as doing the TikTok challenge. For some companies, it will work. They're gonna like it. They're gonna be participating in that. But for others, for other companies, might not be the best for them. So what you want to do is really look at the data and make those adjustments as you see fit. But at the end of the day, use data to drive your decisions because it will help you justify whatever steps you have, whatever budget you need to make if you have the data. And if you look at the statistic before running our poll, companies with a high engaged workforce, 21% more profitable. So again, it goes back to engagement. If you're looking at your data, make sure it's aligned to the engagement numbers also. How much people are participating in everything that you're doing, whether that's sharing information, collaborating on a project, or even in engagement activities. So we'll land the call now.
Ange, I really love this part, no. If anything, I think this is one of my most favorite parts of your six pillars. Yung
I
data
love that you have a
driven.
favorite.
I
It's very
do.
John to
I
have a
do. It's
favorite.
culture and then this one. This is my favorite. Siguro the question that I want to ask you is in parati naman sa ating sinasabi dati pa na because of the big data or the age of ano pa to? The age the digital age, now is the perfect time to use data and make you a very powerful organization, di ba? Why do you think this is the real time that that quotation is true? Now, why is it now, like during the pandemic, data is king?
Right. Well, again, forced digital disruption, right? We've been putting this off for a very long time. But to be honest, the world around us is already relying on so much data. So take a look when you're on Facebook, you're trying to look for some products. Pagdating mo sa Lazada or sa Shopee, all of a sudden they're pushing these products to you. That's
Yeah.
data. That's
Right.
data-driven change. You look at Netflix, you started watching one Korean film, just one. And
Right.
eventually, all these Korean shows are recommended to you. That's not a
Correct.
bad thing for those that are watching a lot of Korean films and series. But the truth is, everyone's adjusted, and
Right.
it just puts the spotlight on us that hey, you're you're one of the few that's not using data to make decisions. So especially for this situation, going back to your question, why is this so important now? You don't want to be caught making a change that's not based on anything,
Correct.
because the impact of that in a pandemic can be catastrophic. So for
Right.
example, as simple as making the decision, I feel like it's safe already. Let's bring everyone back to work. And you don't have the data to show for it. People can get infected, people
Right.
can be put at a risk, which you did, diba? Or you had a hand in. So definitely data is connected to the word risk. When you
Right.
have more data, when you have something to work with, you minimize your risk. And at this point, it's two things. It's minimizing the risk, maximizing the opportunity. So
Correct.
again, another example, selling of face masks. People can see on all the online shopping platforms that face masks are selling so much. So what do? They buy more face masks and they sell it at a higher price. And of course, that's cruel and that's unethical. But just showing you that there's data involved there. There's data-driven change involved there where they're looking at the numbers, they're seeing how much they can make, and then they start to make that adjustment to sell face masks because that's what's on trend. So
Correct.
so again, as a leader and as someone from a company making decisions, you want to be in a position where data strengthens you and puts you in a position to win. For
Right.
not just for survival, but puts you in a position to win in this war. So very, very important, very critical to really work with the data. Not just any data, but the data that will help you minimize risk and maximize opportunity.
Correct. I love what you said, no, Ange. And I think one of the things that's the reason why data is more important now is because the pandemic is totally new. I mean,
Correct?
alam mo yon, yung parang wala, napansin nyo, wala naman tamang formula right now eh. The DOH didn't have a formula to fix all of
Correct,
these things.
correct. Mm-mm.
Organizations also didn't have a formula because the last big pandemic that happened was like Spanish flu. It's pretty much,
Correct.
diba, like almost a century ago.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, almost everything that's happening is new. So kung sino
Mm-hmm.
yung may mga hawak na data, kung ano yung nagwo-work, sila yung mas nagpo-progress. 'Di
Mm-hmm.
ba? Napansin mo yun? Like for example, I'll give you another
Absolutely.
example. Si PSTD. So we we started creating a lot of the webinar sessions, and it was to help a lot of people who can't afford trainings, no?
Mm-hmm.
Pero we are very particular with evaluation, post-evaluation. That's data.
Mm-hmm.
So every time
That's data.
matatapos yung webinars, meron kaming post-evaluation comments and also ratings from the different people who have attended it. Eh,
Mm-mm.
isipin mo yon, Ange. 47 free sessions times 500 people who attended a Zoom call, 'di ba?
Galing.
A lot
Galing.
of data because that's 7 data points per post
Mm-mm.
evaluation. So anong
Mm-mm.
nangyari ngayon? We understand what people are looking for when it comes to training, and that's what we use now in order for us to produce programs that will sustain PSTV's existence. Right?
Exactly. You made the adjustment because
Right.
of the data that you found.
Correct. Kasi walang formula before. So we had to look
Mm-mm.
for what people needed through that data in order for us to survive. And that's
Correct.
same thing for everyone, di ba? That's same
And
thing for
I
everyone.
think survive is not just the word for you, John.
Thrive, no?
Thrive. 'Di ba?
Yeah,
Kumbaga, you're not at a minimum point. Because of
right.
data, you were able to thrive. More people are learning. More people are benefiting from the things that you're sharing. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win-win situation for all.
Correct. So ayan, that's why I think that the pandemic really makes data especially more important. So this is the result now, Ange, of your last ano, no? So
Nice.
for pillar 6, 'di ba? Ang laki ngayon ng ating 4 and 5 is just 44%.
Yes.
Tapos 1 and
Mm-mm.
2 is a total of 26%.
Mm-mm. So there's still a little less than one third that are not
Yeah,
yet on the data piece. And that's okay. Just start to gather the data and find ways to see where you can use data, what decisions need to be made with data.
right. Tama 'yun. At saka habol tayo. Habol
Mm-mm.
tayo kasi pag hindi kayo nagagather ng data sa industriya nyo or sa organization nyo, tapos walang nagagather, paano magpa-progress yung segment nyo kung hindi nyo alam kung tama yung ginagawang decision in relation to data that you're able to gather? Sobrang
Correct.
dali na, Ange, di ba? Sobrang dali mag-gather ng data ngayon. Yung TNA
Mm-mm.
sprint for teachers, that was just 1 hour. And all of that is Mentimeter and Zoom polls.
Mm-mm.
Imagine that,
Right.
ang dali nang gawin yan ngayon. Manghingi lang kayo ng tulong sa tao na marunong. Right?
Mm-mm.
So,
And
yun.
I think also look at every opportunity as an opportunity to gather data.
Right,
So even
correct.
when you're talking to your teams, kamusta na kayo? Instead of just saying okay lang, hindi okay, maybe you can do what we're doing right now sa poll on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the best life that you're living right now and 1 being not so good right now. What's your rating? And then you can get some form of an analysis. Ano bang average pulse ng team ko? Are they happy? Are they stressed? Are they disengaged? Then you can
Right,
get some decisions going.
right. Thanks, Ange.
Mhm.
Ange, maybe we
Right?
can launch the last poll na for
Yes.
Zoom, no? Which
Speaking of
is
mentee.
yeah, yung
Ah,
Sa
Zoom
Zoom
pa.
muna tayo, last Zoom
Sige.
poll.
Mm.
Um so the last poll here is out of the 6 pillars. Ayan. What
Mm-mm.
do you think is your organization's biggest area of development? Okay. So ano na to, wala na tong nasa gitna kasi mamimili na
Oo.
talaga kayo out of the 6.
Oo.
Yeah.
Just
What do
one.
you,
Choose one
yeah,
where it's your biggest area of development.
right. I think, Ange, we can drop the mentee na because this one naman pretty much answers also that mentee question eh.
Mm-mm.
It
Actually.
this shows priority. Kasi
Mm-mm. Actually.
when people see na yung pillar na yon yung pinakakailangan nila na pagtuunan ng pansin, ibig sabihin yon yung requirement na highest priority of all the 6.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Oh, we
So
have
this will be our last poll for everyone.
yeah, this will be our last poll for everyone. Right. Okay. Meron na tayong 70 people who have answered the poll. So let me just end it na, Ange. See, I think that's 70% anyway, which is
Sure.
big enough for us. Para we can still spend some time with Q&A. Ayan, o diba?
Wow.
Enhanced leadership communication, 27%.
Mm-mm.
Resilient implementation at 21%. Culture and collaboration mindset at 18%. Reliable and secure connectivity at 12%. Optimized integration at 8%. Oh, data-driven change at 14%.
Mm-hmm.
So yun.
Wow. And siguro as we're coming into this final poll, less a little like one third yung nagsabi na leaders are our biggest area of development.
Mhm.
So work with your leaders. I know it's not a perfect situation. Nobody's also perfect. So in the same way, our leaders are not. But we need them. We need them during this time. They have to know that we need them and that they have to start communicating better, getting things done, and being the source of guidance for our teams. Because as I said at the start, hope is not a strategy. None of us can say na, we hope things get better, and if it gets better, we will be okay. Even if we want to say that, that's not going to spring us into action for any of the changes that we need to do to survive and to thrive. So I hope that everyone takes this piece of data as a challenge for themselves to do better in their organizations and also to be a source of inspiration.
Right. Thanks. Ange, do you have any other slides left before we go to the question and answer portion? Na
This is my
parang
last
Miss
slide.
Universe lang.
So this is my last summary slide just for the six. And you can take a screen capture of this. You can use this as your guide. Feel free to just send us questions. And I actually just have my QR code here for those that want to connect on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. I'm happy to bring that discussion over. And I'll give the floor to John for questions, and we'll go through everyone's comments.
Right. Thank you, Ange. Well,
Thank
first
you.
of all, Ange, sobrang panalo talaga yung framework, no? I've always been observing how you respond to them, and I think Dr. Elfren Cruz is gonna be very proud. Kasi, kasi he's a framework guy, and you
Yes,
just keep on
super.
going back to the framework every time we ask you a question, which is very
Mm-hmm.
loyal to the concept and thought.
Yeah.
Let's take the question from Miss Cecil. Sabi ni Cecil, what can be done if the culture in the organization is wala na tayong magawa,
Mm-mm.
especially for new employees who feel frustrated already as the longer employed employees do not want change? Oh my God, this is such a
Mm-mm.
spot on question.
Yeah, and I know, John, this is also right up your alley, diba?
Yeah.
Changing mindsets, changing behaviors.
Yes.
For me, this is, at the start, I just want to say, hindi siya acceptable. Because with this kind of mindset, you're really going to prepare or set yourself up for failure as a company. Diba? Every person counts in this kind of crisis or pandemic. So if that's the mindset, then that's the first that should be changed. That's the first thing that should get out, and you need to act on that by trying to re-strengthen the culture, redefine your values, strengthen the values with the team. Ang daming pwedeng ways. It's not a one size fits all answer at this point. But John, I know this is right up your alley also, so please feel free to weigh in.
Ako, I understand that like there's so much resistance, especially from certain generations about change.
Mm-mm.
Um, but I think the crisis is one of the best lubricants to change. Napansin nyo? Ang daming mga leaders natin ngayon, regardless kung anong age, ang mas naging open to change. Kasi yung mga matataas na leader na may power, they feel powerless during this pandemic.
Mm-mm.
Napansin niyo yun? Parang na-disperse yung power. And pag
Mm-mm.
na-disperse yung power, that is your best opportunity for you to start reintroducing new types of culture. Kasi
Mm-mm.
culture is based on power distance, di ba? Pag meron kayong nakikitang need na kailangan yung i-introduce na magbe-benefit yung organization, tapos yung power becomes dispersed. What you do now is you start to create a coalition. Sino ba sa tingin mo yung mga tao within your sphere of influence that can drive change? Tapos yung mga champions na yon that you can bring with yourself in relation to that need. Bring it with you, tapos try to prove to the leaders that you can make the change happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put PSTD again as an example. Kasi PSTD is one of the things that I've been very exposed to in the last couple of months. PSTD is very traditional, diba? Like we haven't done digital trainings before. We're always accustomed to the way things are, and the leaders of PSTD are pretty strict with tradition. ganito lang dapat yung pag-train, hindi tayo dapat pwedeng candid dyan kasi baka mamaya ma-off yung ating mga learners. And we have very
Mm-mm.
professional learners who are expecting us to be less authentic that you think you should be. Pero things changed when they felt that yung kaya nating ibigay na solution, which is in pandemic right now, is actually working. Yung
Mm-mm.
ginawa natin na drive in terms of trying to invite more speakers, trying to invite a bigger community, pushing for free learning programs, which before we barely did, nag-create ng sobrang gandang movement. 'Di ba? Nagkaroon ng almost double the size of the online community.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You know what? For your leaders, all it takes is for you to prove that you can be successful in something for them to
Correct.
get a buy-in,
Mm-mm.
no matter how young you are.
Mm-mm.
So if you can prove that you are of great use right now during this pandemic, that can be a start of culture change. And I
Mm-mm.
know that some of you have already experienced this. Napansin mo, Ange, like ang daming leaders ngayon ginagawang crutch yung younger generation kasi sila yung magaling sa technology.
Correct. That's your opportunity. That's a big window of opportunity for you to
Exactly.
show that there's something you know that maybe they're very limited at or that they don't know, and you
Yeah.
can show your value. But I love your advice, John, also yung maghanap ka ng few people. You don't have to enlist your entire organization. Just a few people to show that things can change, things can be adjusted. And once you slowly build that momentum, then it's supposed to be better from there.
Correct.
Mm-mm.
We have a couple more questions. Thank you, Ange. And this one is from Christine May Aranda. Hi, Kate. It's been a long time since I last heard from you. I hope you're fine. Sabi ni Kate, for those companies who had to let go of employees in
Mm-mm.
order to survive, how can we encourage those who were left?
Oo. Um,
Gandang question ito ah.
that's a very good question. I was gonna say, kasi yun talaga yung reality eh. Even if companies don't want to let go of people, they have to do also everything in their power to keep the company alive. And sadly, one of those measures is to cut a few people. I think it's about explaining. Dito papasok yung first pillar, enhanced leadership communication. You cannot expect everyone to understand right away. Every team thinks differently. If you look at the marketing team, they look at it from a creative perspective. Finance team will look at it from a monetary perspective. Every team thinks differently. So the leader needs to set the tone and set the pace and actually say, ano yung nangyayari in the company? So remember earlier in the first pillar, let the leaders explain the present situation and the implications that will arise because of the present situation. And I think that if people can understand that, then it not that they're gonna be happy. Of course, nagtanggal pa rin tayo ng tao, di ba? Not that they're gonna be happy, but that they will understand and that they can move past it eventually. So I think that's one. And then the second piece is also for those that have stayed, you have to help them cement their decision that this is still a great company to work for. So dito naman papasok yung employer brand. Don't forget who you are because your values also come out in crisis. In the same way that the leaders show up during the crisis, values come out in a crisis. So if you're a company that still values its people, show them, show the people who stayed. Maybe it's by way of sending a care package or maybe acknowledging them when they're doing something right. But you have to show them your values even during the entire situation so that they
Right.
feel that they still belong and still part of your company.
Right. Thank you so much, Ange. Alam mo, nakakatuwa, sobrang dami ng questions at saka ating we still have 9 minutes. So I hope
Nice.
people can still stay in to listen to some of the answers to these questions. Ange, alam mo, napakarami ng question natin about how can we encourage the, like a lot of the elder colleagues to learn and
Mm.
use technology, especially in digitizing learning.
Mm-mm. that's
I mean,
that's really interesting,
I
no?
mean,
That's a
ayoko lang
struggle.
wag na nating palabukan ha. Kasi totoo naman totoo naman 'di ba? It's really a
Oo.
challenge. So,
Mm-mm.
ano kaya yung pwede nating magawa para matulungan natin mag-integrate yung older
Mm-mm.
generation as far as technology is concerned. And this is not an insult. this is something, a reality that we have to face. Kasi not all of us, even myself, no, sometimes can be a bit resistant to technology. What can you
Mm-mm.
advise, Ange?
Mm-mm. This is where, for me, simplifying it is now the recommendation. 'Di ba? In
Right.
some recommendations, pagandahin mo, palakihin mo, or make everything better. But dito sa scenario na to, this is where I say, really let go of everything that's extra and just simplify. Because I believe, even if yung older generations, Facebook yung best example ko dyan. In fact, the younger generations, if you notice the trend, di ba, yung mga Gen Z and millennials, umaalis ng Facebook, lumipat na sa Instagram. Kasi
Correct.
kino-comment ng parents nila lahat ng post nila.
Correct.
Di ba? I mean, and even even though that's funny, that's also an indication na no matter what generation you are, you can learn technology. So,
Right.
simplihan lang natin. So, yung chat, it could be Messenger. Yung video, it could be Zoom. Huwag na masyadong maraming logins. Try to make it nga na walang meeting ID and password. Pag clinic nila,
Correct.
yun na agad.
Correct.
Because usually, doon nagkakaroon ng issues kapag yung steps are a lot. So,
Right.
minimize the steps, simplify the process, and then over time, tsaka natin isipin yung how to make it better. But for
Right.
now, let's help them lang adopt the technology to use it for their daily lives.
Correct. May mga suggestions dito sa chat box, no?
Let's
Napakaganda.
hear it.
Sabi ni Anthony Salazar, you can look for your coworkers who may be younger to assist those people who are a bit older, right? Who
Correct,
are having hard time.
correct.
Kasi it's not an insult. It's
Mm-mm.
parang kumbaga before meron tayong mga older generation who will require mentoring.
Mm-mm.
Who will be good mentors to the younger
Mm-mm.
generation. Medyo baliktad lang to. Pwedeng
Oo,
maging
reverse
mentor.
mentoring.
Correct, reverse mentoring. Pwedeng maging mentor ang younger generation as far as technology is concerned. Kasi
Mm-hmm.
sobrang natural sa younger technology yung technology. Younger
Correct.
generation yung technology.
Sila yung
So,
tinatawag natin digital natives. They
correct.
were born, may technology na. Hindi na nga nila alam kung ano yung dial-up, di ba? Yung sound ng dial-up pag
Yung
nagko-connected to the
Pacific
internet.
Pacific
Tayo lang
internet, mga
makakaalam nun,
ganyan.
no? Oo. Di ba? So there
Right.
are generations that were born, ganito na yung situation. Digital na yung world natin. So, yes, we can learn from them so much.
The other thing, Ange, siguro that maybe kasi you were talking about data-driven change a while ago, is
Mm-mm.
if you're not sure kung ano yung pwede nyong magawa para sa inyong older generation as far as change is concerned, you ask them, right? Kasi
Yep.
hindi na mahirap magtanong ngayon in terms of Google Forms, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
Mentimeter, Zoom poll, tanongin nyo sila ano yung challenges. Kasi pag nalaman nyo yung challenges nila, pwede nyo ngayon igrupo yon para makagawa kayo ng mas may impact na intervention.
Correct.
Kasi
Correct.
limited yung resources natin, tama?
Mm-mm.
So kung limited yung resources natin, hindi tayo pwedeng haphazard lang na solution. Kailangan yung solution nyo based on data that you were able to collect para yung impact mas malaki. Kumpara
Mm-mm.
doon sa, hindi, sa tingin ko ang mag-work dito is ganito. Right?
Correct.
Right.
Oo, don't rely on your own opinion alone kasi
Yeah,
iba yung
exactly.
experience natin dun sa experience of other generations. So
Correct.
we have to consider all perspectives when we're doing this.
At saka sakit natin yan habang tumatanda. Napansin mo, Ange, kahit tayo, nandun na tayo sa 40s na and stuff, sakit
Mm-mm.
natin yung ayaw natin makinig sa mas mga nakakabata. And lalo pa
Mm-mm.
yung mga mas nakakatanda sa atin, ayaw makinig
Oo,
niyan. 'Di ba?
true.
Pero we have to be a bit more humble nowadays. Like for me, my team is a very young team. A lot of them know technology like it's the back of their head. And I
Mm-mm.
trust them so much kasi they give me advice that I would not have been able to think of,
Right.
'di ba? As far as use
Likewise,
of
techwise.
technology. So
And I
let's
don't think that it's even just a generation thing. The
it's
fact that
not.
you're
Oh,
bringing more perspectives in, that
right.
alone is going to be helpful, diba?
Correct. So what you think is wrong when it comes to challenges.
Mm-mm.
Tapos you make solutions in relation to that data that you were able to gather and be very humble.
Mm-mm.
Sabi ko sa inyo, walang may monopoly ng solution during the pandemic.
Correct.
Diba?
And I think the mindset should be, to your point, John, the best solution always wins. Dapat
Correct.
ganun yung attitude of the companies. Take
Correct.
away the politics, take away sino ba yung boss, sino ba yung hindi boss. Whoever's offering the best solution, at the end of the day, that's gonna benefit everyone. Dun tayo.
Correct.
'Di ba?
Kasi we're well, ang dami ng dynamics na yan eh. We're scared that we might lose power if we show some vulnerability even if we are
Mm-mm.
the leaders. Well, that's true. Kaya lang everyone is vulnerable now. 'Di ba?
Mm-mm.
Everyone's
Mm-mm.
vulnerable now. So it doesn't make a difference if it's the younger generation who'll be able to think about some of the solutions. Let's be humble and say that we are a bit vulnerable and we are at a very weak stage right now. Pero
Mm-mm.
one of the things that I saw for the older generation is always the wisdom. The older
Mm-mm.
generation is very strong with controls, with governance. And
Mm-mm.
feeling ko, if you combine that with the solutions that you're getting from the younger generation, your risks will be lower
Correct.
when you start to adapt certain decisions and solutions. And that's
Mm-mm.
one of the things that I love with PSTD very much. Our
Mm-mm.
leaders may be a bit seasoned, pero they help us make great decisions because they will always tell us na, John, I think this may be overstepping, o kaya, ito
Mm-mm.
yung risk niyan. So in which case, we accept that they still are good sources of potential management decisions kasi,
Correct.
kasi they have a lot of experience, right?
Correct. Correct.
So yun.
Absolutely agree.
Yes. So Ange, I guess
Yes.
last 2 minutes na. So let me just
Yes.
get from you some final words siguro before
Mhm.
I fully
Okay.
close this very exciting session.
Sige. You can also get the screen share from me also. So I'm just sharing talent views, contact details in case you want to connect with us. And then John, feel free to get the screen from me. But on my end, I just wanted to say thank you everyone for staying and joining this webinar. Really, ako, yung reminder ko lang for all is that we are also leaders in our own right. So let the leader in you rise up during this crisis, during this pandemic. Allow your values to be shown again during this crisis. Not just your values, but also the values of your company. And you have a hand in that. You're not just a viewer in the culture. You are a builder of culture in your own organization. So if you take that first step, others will surely follow and you can increase your influence, minimize your risk, and maximize your success. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you, John, and Positive Workplaces for the invitation today.
And and thank you very much, Ange, for allowing us to collaborate with you. It's been a long time since we last spoke, no? Ang
I know,
tagal na nung,
right?
and who would have
Oh,
thought that the next time that we will speak would be in a platform like this?
I
So
know.
I'm very,
More digital.
more digital. And I'm very happy that we were able to learn a lot from Dr. Elfren Cruz, from our batchmates. But one thing that I would like to make as a final word for everyone is, alam niyo po, pag nagbasa kayo ng balita ngayon, sobrang toxic po ng mundo. Sobrang toxic because there's a lot of infections happening, there's a lot of politicking, there's a lot of mudslinging and stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
And nakakapagod. Nakakapagod magbasa kasi it affects our emotions, it affects our day-to-day. The best thing or the least thing that we can do pala is for us to contribute to creating positive cultures even in our own organization. Kasi pag nakapagsimula kayo nun, you know that cultures are very hard to bend and break. So pag nagamit nyo yung opportunity ng pandemic at nakapag-introduce kayo ng mga mas positive na cultures, those cultures will start replacing the bad cultures in your organization. So let's take that journey, let's take that challenge, and you follow us, follow Talent View, follow Positive Workplaces, because we can provide you with a lot of these advice, tools, and concepts on how to introduce positive cultures in your organization. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat for attending today's this afternoon session. Sana po makita pa po namin kayo in our future webinars. And Ange, I salute you and your team and hope we can collaborate again in the future.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.